we pay very close attention to the NFC East on the show. Some might say it's personal.
It is personal.
So here's how, no stone unturned when it comes to your Cowboys. You heard that tease. Here's how the division wrapped up last season in the standings. The Cowboys went 13-3, the G-Men 11-5, Redskins 8-7-1, a tie, still can't believe that, and the Eagles finished in last at 7-9. So as far as next season, ESPN's Football Outsiders is predicting that Dallas and New York are both going to fall off a bit, with the Cowboys going 10-6, the Giants 8-8, the Eagles making an improvement up to 500, and the third spot, and the Redskins dropped to last place at 7-9. On that note, Cowboys legend Darren Woodson back with us. I didn't write that introduction.
Yes, you did.
Stephen A., I'm starting with you. Do you agree with those predictions?
No, I don't. I think that the New York Giants, and listen, here's the deal. When you look at the Dallas Cowboys, I can understand why people think they're favorites because their offense is high-powered, that offensive line is elite or whatever. I think the pickup of Brandon Marshall for the New York Giants is going to pay dividends for them. I think their offense itself is going to be high-powered as well. I think their defense, which was vastly improved this past season, is going to return this year and be just as effective. The offensive line woes that obviously is a huge, huge concern for Max Kellerman, you, Molly, and many, many others have to be taken into the equation. But I think the combination of Sterling Shepard with Odell Beckham Jr., with Brandon Marshall, is going to make for one elite passing attack. And as a result, that's going to actually take some of the pressure off of the offensive line, because I think you'll see Eli Manning getting rid of the ball quicker. The New York Giants are aware of the fact that Eli Manning hasn't missed a start in a decade. 12 consecutive years starting every single game, all 16 games for the last 12 seasons. But at the same time, Father Time is undefeated. It's lost to no one, and you can't put this man or continue to put this man in a position where you're asking him to drop back into the pocket and take his time passing the ball, subjecting himself to potential punishment out there. It's too risky for you. So I think you'll see the Giants inject a little twist in their offense where they're getting rid of the ball a little bit quicker so they don't have to depend on the offensive line to the degree that they've had to in the past. And I think that'll be enough within the NFC East to make the kind of noise necessary where the New York Giants could end up having a better record than the Dallas Cowboys. That doesn't mean the Dallas Cowboys are going to be bad. It doesn't mean they're not going to make the playoffs. But what it does mean is that the New York Giants could very well have their number in head-to-head matchups, and outside of that, do just as well within the division. And I think as a result of that, the New York Giants right now can end up winning the division.
Eli already gets rid of that ball pretty quick, and the problem is that Jerry Reese has not shown the ability to address the offensive line. Betting on the upside of T.J. Fluker at right guard, okay, that's not going to do it. They still need a left tackle. Ryan Clady's out there, by the way, still. Obviously Flowers hasn't panned out. Maybe they remove him to the right side. That offensive line is a mess. Richburg and Pugh notwithstanding. It's a mess. So I understand putting the Giants at 8-8, though I believe they'll be better than that. And I understand the overall point here, which is the NFC East got kind of lucky last year. When their best team wins 13 games, you got an 11-game winner in your division, and the worst team in the division is 7-9. I mean, that's the worst team in the division. Maybe you think that division got a little lucky, and when you look at the point differential, it's probably true. I think here, I'm going to put my Giants bias aside. Maybe the team that's being slept on a little bit is the Eagles. Won 7 games in spite of that Lane Johnson suspension, in spite of playing with a rookie quarterback, in spite of not having any receiving targets. Their defense is trending in the right direction, to say the least. It was good and getting better. When Lane Johnson played, they looked like an elite team to me, and that was without the receiving targets. They now have viable frontline receiving options, at least one, obviously. That quarterback, I think, is for real. He's surrounded not only by a coach, but a whole staff of guys who at one time played quarterback. So they know how to handle a young quarterback. He has tremendous upside. He's already very good, Carson Wentz. The defense, as I mentioned, is excellent. The offensive line, Lane Johnson being the tipping point when he's in there, is at least good enough. I think, if anything, maybe the Eagles are being slept on a little bit. But otherwise, I understand the kind of downward projection for the entire division in wins totals. The division probably did get a little bit lucky in that respect last season.
I totally, listen, this is what I think. The division is going to be playing the AFC West next year, and that's going to be different. That's going to be the difference maker. The AFC West, strong division. It's going to be tougher for the NFC East teams to win those games. But at the same time, look, who won the NFC East last year? Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And until someone changes that, they will be representing the NFC East this year. And the reason why is this. You win the NFC East in the trenches. at some point during this season, whether you be the New York Giants, you're going to have to establish the running game. You're going to have to run the football. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles with Carson Wentz, good weapons on the outside with Alshon Jeffrey coming in, Torrey Smith, you're going to have to run the football at some point. The Dallas Cowboys are built to win this division again because they can establish the run, and the quarterback will be in his second year. He'll have even a better season passing the ball. Defense is going to be suspect, but the offensive side of the ball, they'll win games because of it. I think it still comes down to if they can run the ball consistently. Whoever runs the ball more consistently in the NFC East will win the division. And I think, again, you look at Eli Manning, you look at what they're doing with the New York Giants, Odell Beckham, of course, he's probably the superstar in that wide receiver corps. But you bring in Brandon Marshall. But you bring in Brandon Marshall. Can you deal with the personality in that locker room? A lot of personalities in that locker room now and they're going to be deciding who's getting balls, why am I not getting balls?
Darren, Sterling Shepard's the guy who's going to make out from that situation. No one's going to be able to pay any attention to him.
But you have to deal with the locker room issues because you have those divas on the outside the wide receiver position. I still think right now, if you're looking at how this is going to fall out, Cowboys 1, Giants 2, and the Philadelphia Eagles will be fighting for that second spot.
You know, the Cowboys lost that entire defensive backfield. You must be banking on them, taking some of those Romo savings and signing guys who's really left available that they can afford. You got a lot of holes to plug, and you better hope they keep hitting. They got to hit like 3 times in the draft.
This draft is going to be deep with corners.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question, Darren Woodson, because obviously, what position did you play in the NFL?
Safety.
You played safety position, right? So you're part of that secondary, right? You try and tell me. So in other words, you're sitting here on national television with a straight face. And you're betting on rookies getting drafted and coming into the Dallas Cowboys and immediately producing? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, this is not over with just yet. I mean, it's got the draft.
Dak and Zeke
You have you have some free agencies. Free agents are going to come on board.
What did you just say? What did you just say? You said the draft is deep. Is that what you said? You say nothing about free agency. You said the draft is deep.
Well, let's talk about the Cowboys secondary. Mo Claiborne is gone, right? So he's moved on. How many games did Mo play last year? And this team still won the NFC East.
What about
him? Didn't have an interception. Hasn't had an interception in years. I mean, and you're expecting.
Feel good about Scandrick?
You still have guys on that roster. Orlando Scandrick, Brown is coming back. They're going to fill that void with some more free agent cornerbacks, and they'll draft some guys. So you can't sit there and tell me.
You see, on this show, I'm very astute at picking up emotion, and I mean that's what I'm sensing. I mean, it's one thing to get football analysis, but I'm sensing emotion here. I'm sensing wishful thinking. I'm talking with my heart instead of my head. That's what I'm hearing because you set up there, you're dancing all over the place. You can give Max lessons right now. I mean, what am I hearing from you?
Who won the division last year? That's all I got to say.
So what?
Darren,
so what?
What was their record? Hold on. What was their record against
who won the Super Bowl last year?
The Redskins won it the year before.
Darren, what was their record against the New York Football Giants?
Patriots,
it was 0-2. Now, does Dallas get pressure on the quarterback? No, they don't. And they're missing their whole defensive backfield, and they're going to have to cover Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Marshall, and Sterling Shepard without getting pressure on Eli and no one to cover those guys.
They didn't get pressure last year. Who won the division?
You
win the division in the trenches. Who's going to win the trenches? Whose offensive line is the best in the NFC East?
The Cowboys.
Let's just go.
Maybe in the game.
I don't think it's going to be a 13-3 season. I'm not living that dream. There'll be a 10-6 season. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Giants were right there until the last game of the season. I mean, I think these teams are evenly matched.
You're all over
but
the
at
place.
the same time,
emotion.
If you're going to talk about winning the division, I'm just basing it off who won it last year. Because
okay,
this
but
is
wait,
April,
Darren, time out 1 second.
This is
April.
Time out 1 second.
You and I agree. You and I agree they're going to have to address the secondary in the draft through free agency with the Romo money, right? But by the same token, the Giants are going to have to use the draft to address the offensive line and the running game, right?
Absolutely.
So okay, so if you give the Giants a running game, they're a better team than the Dallas Cowboys.
Absolutely. Hey, well, listen, you gotta find those guys, and listen, for the offensive line, let's get this right. Most of the times when your offensive line is pretty strong is when the guys have been playing with each other for years, for 3-4 years. That's when you have consistency at the offensive line.
The chemistry.
You don't have to do that in the secondary, man. You can plug and play in the secondary. You don't have to have a shutdown corner because there is no shutdown corners anymore. But it starts with that offensive line and that defensive line. You have to win in the trenches, and that's been the biggest downfall for the New York Giants.
Never
You ain't
seen you
lying.
so fired up. They're getting under your skin a little bit. I apologize.
We're talking
I'm
football.
just teasing you. All right, we'll see you on NFL Live a little later. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Coming up, Des Bryant goes off on race issues in an Instagram post. Coming up, don't miss how Stephen A. and Max feel about those comments. And this infamous timeout by